Welcome, dear listener, to a realm where time bends and myths still breathe in the silent air. Close your eyes and hear the low rumble that rolls across the distant horizon like an ancient drum. It is not storm alone, but the eternal voice of Zeus, echoing from mountain peaks into endless skies. In every whisper of wind, in every tremor of thunder, there lingers a story older than memory itself. The Greeks once lifted their gaze upward, believing lightning was the mark of divine order and truth. Zeus, crowned in clouds, was not merely a ruler but a reminder that the heavens were always alive. Each storm carried messages, not of wrath alone, but of balance, promise, and eternal guardianship. Thunder was not a weapon, but a song deep, resonant, and unbroken across centuries of listening. Tonight we follow that sound, not with fear, but with wonder, tracing its endless path through myth. So let the skies open, let the thunder roll, and together we shall walk into the endless thunder of Zeus. In the beginning, there was no throne upon the mountain, no crown upon the sky, only shifting silence. The world was a place of shadows and whispers, waiting for a voice to give shape to its restless breath. Ancient storytellers spoke of titans, vast and proud, who carried the weight of chaos upon their backs. From that chaos came the spark of balance, and within balance rose the promise of a greater harmony. The heavens stretched wide, the seas churned deep, and the earth waited for a hand to guide its rhythm. In the cradle of destiny, a child of Kronos and Rhea was born, small yet vast in his unseen future. His name was Zeus, and though the winds did not yet know him, the sky had already marked him as its heir. They say the stars flickered brighter when his eyes first opened, as if greeting a sovereign not yet crowned. The mountains stood taller, the rivers ran swifter, and the air itself carried a note of hidden strength. This was no ordinary beginning, but the dawn of a presence that would echo beyond the boundaries of time. Raised in secret upon the slopes of Crete, he was sheltered by the earth that knew his destiny was immense. The caves echoed with lullabies of nymphs, and the rustle of leaves sang of futures wrapped in thunder. Each moment whispered a reminder. The child would one day hold the storm as if it were a gentle flame, not to burn, not to shatter, but to illuminate, to awaken, to remind the world of order within change. The goats fed him milk, the streams gave him clarity, and the mountains taught him the silence of patience. From silence, he learned listening, and from listening, he learned the voice that the sky would soon reveal. Though the titans roared and the earth trembled, Zeus carried in his spirit a calm no storm could unravel. He grew not in violence, but in wonder, tracing clouds with his gaze, hearing voices in the wind. The heavens whispered secrets to him, and in the roll of distant thunder he found comfort, not fear. The boy was becoming the sky itself, vast, untamed, yet anchored in the promise of eternal balance. As time unfurled, Zeus did not seek the throne through conquest, but through the steady pull of destiny. The sky opened to him, offering its silver light and golden storms, symbols of the crown yet to come. The world had waited for such a figure, one who would not only rule, but also embody the rhythm of nature. Every lightning spark became a brushstroke upon the canvas of heaven, painting stories of cosmic harmony. The thunder was not a drum of battle, but a heartbeat of the universe, steady and endless in its song. Mortals, even from afar, felt the change in the air, as though their prayers already rose toward Olympus. The rise of Zeus was not a single moment, but a gentle awakening, like dawn unfolding after endless night. He was the child of earth and sky, yet destined to unite them beneath the canopy of order and truth. The endless thunder would be his companion, not as noise, but as language, the eternal voice of creation. And so, the first chapter closed, not with a war, but with a promise, whispered through the clouds of time. The sky is not empty, dear listener, but a vast cathedral where clouds drift like ancient wandering priests. Zeus did not simply rule it, he became its very pulse, the rhythm that bound cloud, wind, and lightning. From the highest peak of Olympus, the heavens bowed to him, a crown woven from mist and endless blue. The throne he carried was not of stone, but of air, wide and unseen, touching every horizon at once. Mortals gazed upward, and in each storm, they felt his gaze returning, watchful, yet strangely tender. To them, thunder was his voice, firm and resonant, shaping the silence into meaning beyond words. Lightning was his scepter, not a weapon of harm, but a sudden spark to remind the world of his watch. Even the smallest breeze carried his presence, guiding sailors at sea and shepherds in their fields. When rain touched the soil, it was whispered that Zeus himself blessed the earth with renewal and life. The sky was alive, and within its boundless expanse, Zeus reigned not in conquest, but in guardianship. In the language of storms, he spoke of order clouds gathering, thunder rolling, then calm restored. Each cycle was a lesson. Turmoil gives way to peace, and peace waits patiently for its next awakening. The Greeks believed the heavens were a scroll, and Zeus wrote upon it with every bolt of lightning. These marks were not curses, but signatures of balance, carved into the endless dome above the world. Farmers read the rain as blessing, travelers saw clear skies as a sign, and rulers feared broken oaths. For Zeus was not merely a king of clouds, but the keeper of justice, watching with steady vigilance. His crown was the endless firmament, and his robe the shifting tapestry of dawn, dusk, and storm. No temple could contain him, though many were built. His true temple was the boundless arch of sky. From sunrise to sunset, mortals walked beneath his watch, whether in gratitude or in quiet reverence. Every storm was his sermon, and every clearing of clouds was his gentle hand lifting sorrow away. In myth, it is said that even the stars bent slightly toward him, recognizing their sovereign above. The constellations became his court, silent companions to his throne of infinite space and light. The moon, too, lingered near, reflecting his power across oceans, lakes, and silver-touched valleys. No boundary of earth or sea could confine him. His reign was painted on every horizon known to man. His lightning was never endless fury, but quick, bright truths written across the canvas of night. In those flashes, mortals saw both fear and comfort, both awe and assurance of order still holding. The voice of thunder, long and rolling, was less a roar than a hymn, the deep song of the heaven. To hear, it was to be reminded that the world was not abandoned, but carefully kept in balance above. Zeus, crowned in cloud and light, was less a tyrant than a conductor, guiding chaos into harmony. And so the sky itself declared him king, its vast and endless crown resting gently upon his brow. Listen closely, dear traveler, to the sound that never sleeps, the rolling voice that circles the earth. It is the endless thunder of Zeus, a rhythm older than kingdoms, older even than the memory of men. Wherever clouds gather, his voice awakens, moving like a deep breath drawn by the lungs of the sky. It is not a shout of fury, but a song of presence, steady and unbroken, a hymn of the eternal watch. Each rumble carries, meaning, a message wrapped in sound, reminding all that order still holds sway. The Greeks once stood in awe beneath storms, believing thunder was his language echoing across worlds. To them, a crack of thunder was not chaos, but a sentence spoken from Olympus to the hearts below. The echo rolled over seas and mountains, stitching distant lands together with invisible threads of sound. In the silence after thunder, people felt smaller, yet comforted, for the heavens had remembered them. The endless thunder was not just noise, it was memory, law, promise, and the voice of a sky alive. When storms raged at night, villagers lit fires, not in fear, but in reverence for the god above. They believed thunder was Zeus watching, reminding mortals that no oath or deed escaped his gaze. In each low growl of clouds, there was the weight of truth, pressing gently upon the earth below. To break a vow was to invite thunder, not as punishment of flesh, but as echo of dishonored words. Thus, the endless thunder became a guardian of integrity, sounding whenever balance was disturbed. Farmers listened to its roll before rain. Sailors felt it across vast seas, and poets wove it into songs. Children were told that thunder was Zeus speaking softly, telling stories of stars, storms, and justice. The sound was not feared, but honored, for it carried both mystery and reassurance in equal measure. Even when tempests shook the heavens, the endless thunder was a constant, like the heartbeat of time. Mortals learned that to live beneath the sky was to live beneath his voice, forever woven into storms. But thunder was more than symbol. It was presence, a sound that united gods, men, and the earth itself. Each rumble bridged the mortal and the divine, folding eternity into a single trembling breath of sky. The endless thunder reminded the world that nothing stands alone. Storm follows calm, and calm storm. Zeus's voice was not fleeting. It lingered, resonating through valleys, seas, and the silence afterward. Some said the thunder carried memory of creation, echoing the first breath when chaos gave way to order. Others claimed it was a promise of protection, proof that Olympus still watched with open, steady eyes. Whatever its meaning, the sound endured, weaving myth into the rhythm of daily life across the lands. Even now, when storms awaken, that same voice calls out, unchanged by centuries, ageless in its song. It is the endless thunder of Zeus, more than sound, more than storm, a voice etched into the universe. And so, dear listener, when you next hear thunder, know you are hearing the same eternal story unfold. Look upward, dear listener, for the heavens themselves were the canvas upon which Zeus painted his eternal reign. The stars glittered like silver sparks, yet even their brilliance bowed when thunder rolled across the dome. The moon traced her path in quiet devotion, reflecting his watchful eye across oceans and sleeping valleys. Winds carried messages, weaving between mountains, deserts, and seas, all under the unseen hand of Zeus. Clouds gathered not in chaos, but in rhythm, their movements choreographed like dancers upon the sky. Lightning flared, not as fury, but as script, words of light carved upon the darkness of infinite night. Every flash was a declaration. The heavens are alive, the order of the cosmos still firmly held in place. Mortals believed thunder spoke of justice, but stars told another tale, of harmony in eternal balance. Together, the heavens were his choir, each element playing its part in a symphony too vast to silence. And Zeus, crowned in air and storm, conducted it with patience, ensuring no voice was ever forgotten. The constellations themselves seemed like guardians, set in place by his hand to keep watch forevermore. Orion, mighty in the sky, walked under Zeus's gaze, hunting not beasts, but the shadows of chaos. The Pleiades shimmered like a cluster of voices, whispering of seasons and cycles that never end. Every star was a note in a melody, and every breeze a breath in the endless hymn of the firmament. When mortals studied the heavens, they felt the nearness of Zeus, a presence folded into every pattern. Sailors steered their ships by starlight, believing the god himself guided them upon the restless waters. Farmers read the skies before planting, trusting that Zeus's heavens revealed the secret of their harvest. The heavens were more than a roof above. They were scripture, alive with lessons for those who would listen. Each dawn was a chapter of renewal. Each twilight, a gentle reminder that endings are never truly the end. And through it all, thunder lingered like punctuation, marking the sentences of the sky with authority. The winds were his heralds, rushing through valleys and deserts, carrying his unseen voice across the world. In their rush, people heard whispers of comfort, warning, and change, each note guided by the god above. Storms traveled like messengers, their arrival announcing that Zeus had stirred within the heavens again. Yet when calm returned, it was no less his doing, for peace was also part of the order he maintained. The heavens were not a place of fear, but a reminder that life is rhythm, shifting, yet always returning. Rain fell as blessing, snow as silence, and sunlight as promise, each given under Zeus's steady watch. To live beneath the heavens was to live within his presence, embraced by his guardianship every hour. And mortals, though small, felt vast when they lifted their eyes, knowing they too were part of this design. Zeus did not stand apart from the sky. He was the sky, the endless voice, the keeper of its eternal song. So when the heavens opened with thunder and lightning, the world listened, and the universe remembered. Listen, dear traveler, for storms were never empty rage. but messengers of Zeus speaking through sky and cloud. The ancients believed thunder was not mere sound, but a voice, traveling across the firmament with intent. Each storm was a scroll unfurled upon the heavens, carrying messages written in lightning and rain. When thunder rolled, it was said Zeus was whispering truths to those willing to listen with patient hearts. Farmers heard the voice as a promise of rain, sailors as a warning of seas yet untamed, rulers as counsel. Every clap of thunder bore meaning, tailored not to one ear but to all, a chorus of guidance from above. The sky was his parchment, the wind his ink, and storms his letters, drifting endlessly across the earth. To ignore a storm was to ignore the god himself, for Zeus spoke not once but in endless, rhythmic echoes. Even the quiet after lightning was filled with significance, a pause for mortals to ponder his message. Thus, storms became more than weather. They became teachers, carrying wisdom as rain carried life. Travelers in the mountains swore they could hear words hidden within the rumbling of distant thunder. Some heard caution, urging them to rest. Others heard courage, telling them the path ahead was open. No message was the same, yet all were woven from the same divine thread, spun from Olympus above. Poets declared storms to be sermons, lessons wrapped in water and wind, delivered to all who would hear. In the crash of thunder, they claimed, Zeus reminded mortals that promises carry weight across eternity. To swear falsely was to awaken the voice of the storm, echoing dishonor in a language none could deny. Thus, the endless thunder was not simply law, but guidance, a compass to align mortals with truth. Even children were told that each storm carried a story, a myth retold through lightning across the skies. Grandparents whispered that thunder was Zeus himself, walking, shaking the heavens to share his wisdom. In this way, storms were embraced not as curse, but as sacred messengers of clarity, balance, and order. But the message of storms was not always stern. Sometimes it came as comfort, soft as rain on fields. For the weary, thunder could feel like a lullaby, a reminder that no night is too dark for dawn to rise. The deep roll across the sky was a song of reassurance, steady as a heartbeat across the horizon. Mortals learned to read the language of clouds, to see in their shape and sound the will of Zeus himself. Lightning was a signature, bold and swift, declaring truths too great for silence to hold any longer. The thunder followed as echo, ensuring the word carried far, from valleys to seas, from cities to deserts. Every storm was therefore a dialogue, Zeus above and mortals below, each listening, each remembering. This exchange tied heaven and earth together, weaving storms into the very fabric of daily life. And even now, dear listener, when thunder stirs, it carries the same ancient message across the sky. It is the voice of Zeus, the messenger of storms, reminding us that balance still sings within creation. Lean closer, dear listener, for now we descend from the heights of storm to the lives of mortals below. For Zeus was not a distant god of thunder only, but a presence that touched the rhythms of daily existence. Every hearthfire, every village square, every whispered prayer carried the echo of his unending watch. In the morning, farmers lifted their eyes to the skies, trusting the clouds to reveal his will for the day. Shepherds guided flocks across meadows, listening for distant rumbles that foretold rain or warned of storm. Mothers taught their children to honor the first drop of rain, for it was said to be a gift from Zeus's hand. Travelers, setting foot on long roads, carried small offerings, asking for safe passage under his vast sky. Even kings, crowned in gold and power, turned to the heavens before ruling, mindful of Zeus's silent gaze. His influence was not bound to temples alone, but woven into bread, harvest, journeys, and lullabies alike. To live was to share in his order, to feel the balance of storm and sun guiding each moment of mortal life. Festivals were held in his honor, where songs rose like smoke and laughter echoed like thunder in the air. Poets recited verses beneath the open sky, believing Zeus himself listened from the throne of the clouds. Children danced with torches, mimicking lightning in play, while elders spoke of justice upheld by the storm. Communities gathered not in fear, but in reverence, grateful for the harmony he sustained across creation. Offerings of grain, wine, and simple bread were laid at altars, symbols of life shared back with its giver. Yet Zeus asked for no riches beyond respect, no tribute beyond the living balance mortals kept with each other. For his thunder reminded them that promises must be honored, oaths must be kept, harmony must be guarded. Thus, every feast became a celebration not of fear, but of trust, a covenant renewed beneath the stars. The sky itself seemed to join the festival, as winds carried songs farther than voices alone ever could. And when lightning flashed, it was seen not as wrath, but as applause, a divine hand lifted in approval. Yet daily life too was filled with his quiet touch, subtle as sunlight spilling through a morning window. Fishermen swore they could feel his guidance when casting nets, waves shifting kindly under his silent will. Craftsmen prayed before carving wood or shaping clay, hoping their work would reflect the balance he upheld. Teachers guided students with lessons of justice, pointing to the thunder as proof that fairness endured, even in disputes. Neighbors lifted eyes to the sky, recalling that dishonor was always heard above. Zeus did not intrude upon every act, yet his presence was a thread that bound each life to something greater. In love, in labor, in laughter, mortals felt themselves part of a grander harmony, never truly alone. The endless thunder was not only power, but reminder that life itself was a dialogue with the divine. Each choice, however small, became a verse in the poem Zeus had written across sky and sea alike. So mortals lived, not in fear of thunder, but in partnership with it, finding purpose beneath its eternal song. Come closer, dear listener, for now we enter the sacred groves and marble halls where Zeus was honored. Temples rose like mountains carved by mortal hands, their columns reaching skyward in silent devotion. Each stone, each chisel mark, was an offering, crafted not for pride but to echo the order of the heavens. At dawn, priests lit fires upon altars, smoke curling upward as if carrying prayers to Olympus itself. The scent of olive oil, honey, and incense filled the air, rising in fragrant tribute to the god of thunder. Worshippers gathered not with fear, but with reverence, their voices blending in hymns beneath open skies. The temple became a bridge, a place where the mortal and divine met, where silence carried divine weight. Even the wind seemed to pause at the threshold, as though it too bowed to the presence of the thunderer. The great statue of Zeus, towering in marble and gold, glowed in morning light like a living sentinel. To gaze upon it was to feel small, yet also embraced, part of the grand order he wove across the world. But temples were not his only sanctuaries. Nature itself became his eternal place of worship. Sacred oak trees whispered with the wind, their leaves rustling like oracles speaking in hidden tongues. Springs bubbling from the earth were thought to carry his blessing, water kissed by the sky's silent hand. High peaks touched the heavens, and their mortals felt closest to him, their prayers carried by thin air. No roof, no wall was required for his presence. For every storm cloud was a temple roof in motion. Every horizon was his altar. Every mountain path his corridor. Every sea wave his hymn in motion. Thus, worship was not bound by marble, but by wonder. Wherever eyes lifted skyward in gratitude, children chasing butterflies, farmers planting seeds, sailors hoisting sails, all were acts of devotion. For the god who ruled storms also ruled joy, ensuring balance in both labor and in laughter. His presence sanctified not only temples, but the very rhythm of seasons, the steady flow of life itself. Pilgrims traveled far to sacred sites, carrying questions, offerings, and the weight of their mortal lives. Some sought justice, believing Zeus would hear and answer with thunder against falsehood and betrayal. Others sought guidance, waiting for lightning to split the sky, revealing the path hidden from their eyes. Still, others came with gratitude, laying simple wreaths of laurel at his feet, thankful for harvest or rain. And each left with more than they brought, for worship was not transaction, but transformation of the soul. To stand in a sacred grove, hearing the rustle of leaves, was to hear the whisper of Zeus's endless order. To kneel at a marble altar was to join a chorus of centuries, voices rising in harmony with the thunder. In these moments, mortals remembered they were never alone, never forgotten beneath the vast sky. The endless thunder was not distant, but present, echoing in temples, in trees, in the hearts of believers. And so worship continued, not as burden, but as joy, a song sung to the sky, carried on forever. Lean in, dear listener, for myths were not merely tales, but lanterns that lit the path to understanding Zeus. Stories carried by firelight and sea wind revealed not a tyrant, but a guardian of balance and harmony. When the thunder spoke in the distance, elders would recall legends woven through centuries of devotion. These myths became the bridge between mortal hearts and the vast, unending voice of the heavens above. One tale told of Zeus shaping order from chaos, arranging stars so the night would never swallow hope. The constellations, they said, were gifts from his hand, reminders that light endures even in deepest dark. Another spoke of the eagle of Zeus, soaring high, a symbol of strength, clarity, and the watchful spirit. Children lifted their eyes in wonder, believing the eagle carried prayers upward to the divine throne. Each myth carried not fear, but wisdom, teaching mortals that justice and truth outlive all shadows. Thus, the endless thunder was never noise, but narrative, each storm a verse in the great cosmic story. Poets treasured these myths, reciting them beside temples or under trees alive with rustling whispers. They spoke of lightning not as destruction, but as illumination, unveiling truths hidden in mortal hearts. They sang of rain as mercy, the earth's drink poured freely from Zeus's hand to renew crops and rivers. Thunder, they claimed, was the hymn of eternity, a song the heavens could never cease to sing aloud. Listeners, young and old, felt the stories enter their bones, shaping their choices, softening their fears. For to hear a myth was to inherit not just memory, but responsibility to live within its guiding truth. And so, myths grew roots, planted in daily life, blossoming in prayers, festivals, and quiet reflections. No myth was an escape, but a reminder. The divine was present, woven into the turning of every season. In the marketplace, in the fields, by the fire, mortals repeated these tales, passing them like sacred flame, and each retelling carried the thunder forward, echoing the voice of Zeus across time itself. But myths also held mystery, truths not always fully understood, left open for hearts to ponder deeply. Some whispered that Zeus did not create storms alone, but partnered with the winds, the seas, the Sunday. This, they said, was why harmony endured, for even the mightiest god shared power with the world itself. Others spoke of Zeus listening more than speaking, his thunder not command but conversation eternal. These mysteries invited mortals not to fear, but to wonder, to lean into the silence between rumbles. For in silence too the god was present, waiting for mortals to offer their own truths upward to the sky. Thus myths were never final answers, but open doors, pathways to deeper reflection and reverence. Each generation added its own threads, weaving new meaning into the tapestry of stories unending. And through it all, thunder rolled on, steady and eternal, carrying every myth upon its endless rhythm. So, dear listener, remember, myths were not chains, but wings, lifting mortals toward the wisdom of Zeus. Gather near, dear listener, for now we follow the echo of thunder into the realms of seers and oracles. For the voice of Zeus was not always clear, but hidden, waiting to be unraveled by wisdom and patience. At sacred sites, smoke curled from altars, and seekers came with questions burning brighter than the flames. The oracle spoke not with certainty, but with words shaped like riddles, woven from the fabric of mystery. Mortals leaned in, listening for the thunder behind the words, the whisper of the divine in human sound. The Pythia at Delphi, seated upon the tripod, inhaled vapors and let Zeus's guidance pour through her lips. Kings, generals, and farmers alike sought her counsel, each hearing in her voice the echo of Olympus. The message was never command alone, but possibility, a path revealed, for those willing to walk it. For Zeus did not bind mortals in chains of fate, but offered guidance, a compass through the fog of choice. Each prophecy was a mirror, reflecting not just the god's will, but the seeker's own heart laid bare. Thunder itself was an oracle, its roll across the sky, read as carefully as ink upon parchment scrolls. Priests marked the time, the direction, the echo, interpreting its meaning for fields, journeys, or justice. Lightning became a sign, a sudden stroke of clarity, illuminating truths too swift for words to contain. Birds in flight, winds in the trees, even the crack of branches carried messages in Zeus's silent tongue. To the faithful, every element was scripture, every sound a syllable of the endless thunder above. Thus prophecy was not distant or rare, but alive in the rhythm of earth, sky, and mortal breath. The wise listened not just with ears, but with hearts, for meaning lived between the silences of thunder. And so, prophecy became less about knowing the future than about walking rightly in the present moment. Zeus's voice did not demand blind obedience, but invited mortals into harmony with his eternal order. The thunder was not chain or decree, but dialogue, an open call for mortals to live in balance with truth. Legends told of prophecies shaping great journeys, guiding ships across seas and kings across kingdoms. One story spoke of a traveler who asked the oracle not of riches, but of how to live a worthy life. The answer came in thunder that shook the mountains. Live with honesty, and storms will always guide you. Another tale told of a village warned by the crack of sudden lightning to leave before the river swelled. They obeyed, and when the waters came, they sang thanks, for Zeus's voice had guarded them once again. Such tales were not rare, but woven into memory, carried like heirlooms across generations of believers. To doubt thunder was to risk missing its guidance. To heed it was to walk in step with eternity itself. The endless thunder was thus not a mystery to fear, but a conversation to cherish, a counsel to seek. And so, dear listener, remember, prophecy is not about tomorrow, but about hearing the divine today. For when the sky speaks, it is not distance, but nearness, not silence, but the endless voice of Zeus. Come closer, dear listener, for the final echo of thunder calls us to reflect on the heart of Zeus's presence. The storms we traced were never chaos alone, but rhythm, each roll of thunder a heartbeat across the skies. Mortals once feared that heartbeat, mistaking its strength for wrath, its power for distance beyond reach. But through stories, songs, and sacred silence, they learned the thunder was not punishment, but protection. It was the reminder that life is fragile, yet held in the vast, unseen hands of something eternal and kind. Farmers heard thunder and trusted the rains would come to feed the soil, a covenant between earth and sky. Travelers lifted their eyes, knowing lightning might guide them when the road grew dark or the sea uncertain. Children listened at night, counting the spaces between thunderclaps, as though listening for a lullaby. The thunder became not noise, but assurance, proof that the divine was awake, watching, and never far away. Even silence was part of the story, for in quiet skies the memory of thunder still shaped mortal hearts. Thus the endless thunder was not bound to storms, but to the rhythm of hope carried in every living breath. Its echo lived in justice, when truth triumphed over deceit. Like lightning flashing through shadowed lies, it lived in kindness, when mercy poured like rain to soften anger, washing bitterness from weary souls. It lived in courage, when mortals dared to face uncertainty, steady as trees rooted against the storm's wind. The voice of Zeus was not trapped in mountains or temples, but alive in every choice toward harmony. Each clap of thunder was a call. Live honestly, love fiercely, walk gently, and remember the balance of all. The endless thunder taught that greatness was not power over others, but unity with the order of creation. And so, mortals found themselves not beneath the storm, but within it, part of the music of eternity. The endless thunder became their inheritance, passed from heart to heart like a flame that never dies. Now, dear listener, as our tale draws near its close, listen not with ears alone, but with the soul within. When next you hear thunder rolling, do not tremble, pause, breathe, and feel the wisdom it carries to you. For it is not only Zeus who speaks, it is life itself, reminding you that you belong to something greater. The sky does not roar to frighten, but to awaken, to remind you that order and wonder are always near. And if you listen closely, between the rumbles, you may hear your own heartbeat joining the eternal song. Thus, the endless thunder of Zeus continues, not ending with us, but flowing forward into every tomorrow. It is the sound of the cosmos remembering itself, the rhythm of justice, mercy, and truth without end. So take these words with you, not as myth alone, but as melody, guiding you as surely as the stars above. For as long as thunder rolls, the story lives on, and Zeus's voice will echo through every corner of creation.